Welcome back to the County News Podcast. Last year, listeners enjoyed a series presented by NACo's National Center for Public Lands Counties, featuring the perspectives of county leaders in America's public lands counties. This year, the series is back with 3 episodes, each featuring the voices of 2 officials who attended this year's Western Interstate Region Conference. This week's conversation features my co-host, Charlie Ban, in conversation with Pennington County, South Dakota Commissioner Gary Drews and Curry County, New Mexico Commissioner Seth Martin. In the first conversation, Charlie and Commissioner Drews discuss partnering with land management agencies on tourism. In the second, Charlie and Commissioner Martin discuss the experience of a county situated near a military installation.
Commissioner Drews, thanks so much for joining us, and thank you so much for hosting the Western Interstate Region Conference in Pennington County. Tell us about Pennington County and some of the federal lands you have nearby.
Okay, well, first of all, we appreciate you being here. So it's our pleasure to be able to host the WIR. And we've got some great people here that I've met and talked to, and it's a learning experience when you talk to them from other states. We all got similar issues. It's a matter of how you take care of them. Pennington County is a large county. I mean, you go from the Wyoming border going east, you probably go 120, 130 miles. So everything east of Rapid City is essentially ranch and farmland, agriculture, except for the Badlands. The Badlands, obviously, there's not any ag production created there. But then everything west, north, and south is forest land. And so about 40% of the land in Pennington County is made up of federal lands. And we've got counties to the north, Lawrence County, which has a higher, because the county isn't as large geographically, they have a lot more higher percentage of federal lands. But the 5 counties in the Black Hills have a large number of federal lands. And then it does extend over into Wyoming. The Black Hills extend into Wyoming also. One of our frustrations sometimes is that as studies are going on and looking at like the timber industry, etc., they don't necessarily include some of that property that's in Wyoming. They include it just in the Black Hills of South Dakota, not the Black Hills of Wyoming, which gives you a little bit of a distorted number as to what's available as far as the amount that's of saleable timber. So
Prior to serving on the Pennington County Board of Commissioners, you were in both city government and you worked for a member of Congress. Tell me about your understanding of the intergovernmental relationship between federal, city, and county governments, and how it all works together here.
Okay, well, government was designed to be slow, and that's always a frustration. But probably a bigger frustration to me, and when I was the mayor of the capital city in South Dakota, I worked with the Corps engineers a lot because the Missouri River runs right past the capital city. Now working with the Forest Service, Park Service, etc. out here, the same frustrations exist because you no more than get somebody pretty well educated that's a decision maker, and they get transferred, they get moved on, and I understand that. It's part of their involvement, evolving, to a better position or a higher position and so forth. But you essentially have to start all over again. So, and that happens with the Corps and with the Forest Service essentially like every 3 years. And so it's a matter of really sitting down and trying to re-educate, get back to the point where you were with the previous, decision maker. And it brings on a lot of extra work because it doesn't seem that the information that was provided a few years ago carries on to the next person. That is brand new to them again, and so that's one of the big frustrations that we have.
Nobody's leaving detailed exit memos for how to work with the counties.
No, I don't think so. Oh. Now we have. I must say we have the district ranger at Mystic, which is the one that serves most of our area, I mean, has been great to work with. And he's fairly new, but we needed, for a small community west of Rapid City, it's called Silver City. They're tucked back into the hills. They have a fire department, a volunteer fire department, but it was difficult for them to travel the 6 or 7 miles to get to the main highway. And so they really needed another location, so an additional location. And we didn't have any private land available for it. And so this Jim Goebbels, the district ranger there, he worked hand in hand with us, and finally we was able to get a quitclaim deed to a small acreage, and they were able to build a new fire station, which, in my opinion, shouldn't even been a discussion, because typically our volunteer firefighters are the first ones at any forest fire, so forth too, that are working on containment and putting it out, etc. Depending on the size, obviously others may be called in for it, but that's an example of where, I mean, it really worked well for us, and I think for the county it was a great enhancement, and for the wildfires, because we've been extremely dry, and so the moisture we've had in the last few days has been just a blessing for us.
How long did that process take in terms of getting that bit of land so you can build a second fire station? From
the beginning to the end, because we had to go through some other steps. You have to prove to them that you can't obtain private land. So you have to go to any private landowners and make sure that they get them to sign off that they're not willing to sell a piece of their property to you. And so I suppose from the beginning to the end was probably 1.5 to 2 years before that was accomplished. But but we anticipated it was going to take a while. I mean, we weren't anticipating that in 90 days we'd have a piece of property to build on.
You planned for the worst but hoped for the best.
That's right. And one of our commissioners, Ron Ross Connect, worked hand in hand with them on that, and it happened to be in his district, and so him working with him, I don't think he let him rest very much, and I think he kept the telephone pretty hot and heavy, moving it forward. So
recreation's obviously a big part of your economy here. People are coming to visit Mount Rushmore, Crazy Horse, the Badlands. Tell me about how recreation fits into your economy and how the county operates.
Recreation and tourism is big for us, really big. We have Mount Rushmore, I think we have about 4 million visitors a year there. And Mount Rushmore is actually located in Pennington County. Badlands are located in Pennington County. The Crazy Horse is in the neighboring county, Custer County. But it's critical for all of us for that visitation, the recreation. I would say one that's a little bit disturbing to us is the number of ATVs that come in now, and the Forest Service is the one that collects the money for the permitting for them and so forth. None of that comes to the county. We do see the ecosystem being disturbed with that. We try to do what we can as far as repairing it, taking care of it. But even a lot of our county roads end up getting tore up with those. So I'd like to see a little bit more effort on the Forest Service as far as enforcement on those and making sure that that they're where they're supposed to be and not turning the UEs in the middle of the county roads and stuff, because it does create a lot of damage.
That's rough, not being able to collect the revenue. You are doing the work but not being funded for it. I mean, it's a tale as old as time when it comes to public lands counties, but that is a direct demonstration of that imbalance.
It is. I mean, we still have to provide all the services, and that's not only for that, but I mean, we provide the services for a lot of areas that's located within Forest Service country. And, PILT funding has not been keeping up. I think our expense probably has risen, in the last few years, 25, 26%. PILT's been about 18%. So it's not keeping up. And it wasn't really at par to begin with. So we just keep falling further behind with it.
You mentioned the relative, maybe not drought, but it's been pretty dry here recently, and you've got quite a number of trees in the national forest. Tell me about how you communicate the county's needs in terms of forest management with the Forest Service, how that relationship works, and what priorities the county has when it comes to forest management.
Well, we have a group throughout the Black Hills area that meets regularly with the Forest Service to express our concerns or our appreciation for what's happening. I would say it's probably more concerns than it is appreciation, but especially in this time right now where we don't know exactly where the Forest Service or any of the federal agencies are as far as dollars and cents are concerned. So we know that, there's things that we need to do in the forest, take care of the weeds, take care of the pests, etc. And those dollars have now been pretty well shut off at this point in time. So now we're trying to figure out where do we come up with revenue sources to fill that gap so we don't have the beetle infestations and etc. And, we've tried to work with them on the timber industry. We lost one of our major timber people a few years ago at Hill City. They employed 150 or so people, and they do operate plants yet in Spearfish and over at Hewlett, Wyoming. But that was a big number loss. And for those that are out there doing the cutting, it creates quite an issue for them as far as the haul now, to where they can haul that material too. And so we're trying to convince the Forest Service to relook at the amount that's saleable timber. We feel that they've lowballed that at this point in time. 2020, I don't remember the exact numbers, but from 2020 to 2024, they reduced the amount of saleable timber by 60-70%. And so, that was, the main one that was at Hill City just basically said, I got to have more than what they're allowing for myself, to keep
on staff with more people.
Yeah. And so that's been a concern. But I was just reading in one of the NACo newsletters about, some of the new technology that's available for being able to clear timber from some of the steeper slopes, etc. And I'm excited about that because we know that we got any number of areas where there's timber that should be thinned at least.
That was Pennington County, South Dakota Commissioner Gary Drews. Now here's my conversation with Curry County, New Mexico Commissioner Seth Martin. Commissioner Martin, thanks so much for joining us. Tell us about Curry County, what your public lands makeup is, and what it's like out there.
We're mainly agricultural based. I believe it's 97% is locally owned.
Okay.
Maybe 3% public land. I guess most of our public land on the federal level would be due to DOD facility, Cannon Air Force Base. Mm-hmm. Other than that, some school sections, which the school are through the state. But we're kind of an unusual anomaly that we have 97% privately owned property.
Tell me about how that compares to some of your colleagues in New Mexico. Are you are they jealous of your amount of private land?
Well, I'd not say jealous because they get a lot of payments we don't. The PILT and SRS and that type of stuff. But I think the benefit to Curry County is we also produce, I believe it's 90% of all agricultural products in New Mexico. New Mexico is very diverse. It from the farmlands to the mountains to white sands to canyons. It's a beautiful state, and luckily those PILT payments and stuff help subsidize a lot what's needed in our area.
Tell me about the county's relationship with Cannon Air Force Base and how that all works out.
A lot of direction goes towards the DOD facility. There's good and bad that goes with that. We've been involved in some other issues have come up with the facility there. It's a great economic driver for the cities. Not much revenue to the counties. but it does help supplement our area greatly by the great airmen and their families that come into our area.
Do you ever have to deal with any encroachment issues on the base?
That's kind of becoming an issue with PFAS, PFOA. That came into my first term. I think that's going on 7 years now when that was introduced to us. And that is the DOD encroaching on private property.
Yeah.
The PFAS flows
Right in
out of the southeast corner of that into some high production irrigation land and dairies.
Have you seen any results of that in the agricultural production?
We've actually taken a pretty good hit on our property taxes. They've been able to go to zero on their property rate because of this contamination. We also have seen a drop in some of the production, as well as other companies willing to take the cheese, the milk, and the beef that are adjacent to these areas.
Yeah, so there's a little hesitation.
There's quite a bit of an economic hit when that PFAS, PFOA became an issue.
So it's really there are highlights and lowlights from the relationship.
There is. Like I said, the cities get a lot, Clovis and Portales, a lot of economic boost from the DOD facility. The county, we seem to deal with the other issues, trying to fill needs. Some of the needs do apply to county, but a lot of them, they're going to apply to what the city can do for them. But we try to have a good working relationship.
And I imagine as a result, there's a lot of education you have to do with your population to let them know this is what the county can do, this is what the city does, and if you want results fast, this is who you go to.
The leadership at Cannon changes fairly quickly. We've gone through commanders like every 2 years, year and a half here lately, and as a new one comes in, their view is different for Cannon. And it does take a little bit of an adjustment. Right now, a big issue of beautification in our area has come forward with no zoning in the county. There's nothing we can do. There are other options. If the city wants to take on those right-of-ways and annex those into the city, they can deal with the issue, but as the county stands, private property is private property, and unless it's a health issue, there's nothing we can do.
Okay. Obviously, you've been in office for a few years. You've met a few of these commanders for the base. Tell me about getting them used to working with county government.
They tend to not introduce me anymore.
Okay.
I've taken a rather opposing view.
Okay.
The delay in the cleanup on the PFAS, PFOA has jaded me. And not to the people, Cannon, but the DOD's reaction time. We do have quite a few interactions with them. They come to our meetings. Always great people to work with and talk with, and we're always willing to help where we can.
You said you got a little bit of BLM land, correct?
Not necessarily BLM.
Okay.
It's state land. They call them state, the school sections.
Okay.
And the rent off of those go to help the schools.
Okay.
And that's all BLM, that starts kind of all around us. But,
Okay.
Curry County has no BLM.
We're
exempt from all that.
Donut hole.
Although I will say a lot of the same restrictions that they have on BLM have been imposed on private property owners.
Interesting.
With the endangered species,
Yeah.
you're not exempt. There again, the only one exempt from all these restrictions is DOD. They don't have to follow the same guidelines as the private property does.
They could drive right over it like a tank.
Exactly. Or fly.
Yeah, tell me. It's a good point. Yeah, wrong mode of transportation. Tell me about since New Mexico has such a quick turnover for officials with 2 term limits. Obviously, you got a lot of new county officials in New Mexico. Mm-hmm. What advice do you have for a new county official getting their feet wet?
Getting into the county, you need to get involved right away. There's always that uncomfortable time getting settled. I would suggest getting with more experienced commissioners, getting involved even with NACo and New Mexico counties. There's a lot out there, and the longer you delay, the last time you actually have to get something done.
Yeah.
Like I told you a moment ago, our terms are 8. I'm in a unique deal where I get to do 11 years. But it's involvement quick.
Yeah,
It's really very important in New Mexico. The city, no term limits. The state, no term limits. But for some reason, county commissioners are limited.
It really puts counties at a disadvantage in terms of building institutional knowledge and continuity.
It does. I mean, you can sit out 4 years and go again. We have a REPI, we have a Sentinel, and that's all tied to DOD. And I'd hate to not mention that while I'm here. Okay.
So tell me about. I know REPI, but a lot of people don't. Tell me about that.
REPI became relevant probably 3 or 4 years ago in Curry County. It was set up to try to preserve water for Cannon Air Force Base. There was a irrigation to the northwest of Cannon. They formed a group, put it all together, and they've been successful in having those farmers that are irrigating turn off for the last 3 to 4 years. They pay them. It's voluntary to get in the program, but they do pay these landowners to turn their water off. Right now they're in the kind of a weird staging where they're trying to get in a perpetual easement. There again, that will not allow any type of agricultural irrigation forever. And it's hard to put a price on that.
Yeah.
There again, it's meant to supply water to Cannon, but at the same time, as that water is conserved to the northwest, it pushes out through the southeast, which there again expands the flow of the PFOS, PFOA. About a year ago, another DOD program got put in place in Curry County. The commission wasn't even aware of this until we were out at the base and they gave the announcement the Sentinel landscape had been brought into our area. While it has no funding right now, it looks to, there again, voluntarily restrict what landowners can do on their own property for pay. Of course, there's always money. There's always that.
There's a consideration.
There's always that carrot hung out in front of you to get you to bite. And it's disturbing as a commissioner to see private property rights, even though they are paid for, disappear in our area. There again, I mentioned that we are the leading agricultural producer in New Mexico, and I'm afraid this could limit that in the future.
Well, I don't want to hear that, but I'm glad. I'm glad at least you're preparing for that and thinking about it.
It's a weird process to have to think that at some point we may just be a DOD county.
Yeah.
If what's done restricts us into the way that we can no longer produce, that may be all that's left.
Thanks for listening to the County News Podcast and this year's series presented by the National Center for Public Lands Counties. To check out more episodes from last year's series, visit naco.org/podcast.